Hello everyone, Matt Carter here. Welcome to our studios here in central Nanaimo. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And what else makes a wonderful day than some nicer weather and some live music? So we're here this afternoon to talk about a return of a wonderful live music series happening in the Old City Quarter in downtown Nanaimo. Very happy to be speaking with James McRae, representing the sounds of summer in the OCQ. James, thanks so much for joining us here at the studio.
Matt, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be promoting this free live music every Friday beginning in June, going to mid-September. And yeah, for anyone who's capable of coming and going to these shows. I've got a really interesting lineup of musicians this year, and I think people will really enjoy themselves if they come. So.
Well, it's a music series now. I think going into its 5th year. We were talking before going on air with a year off sort of for the pandemic sort of thing. But before we get into the artists, tell us what sort of makes this music series a bit different than, say, your normal music festival you might see in a lot of communities around the area.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think every situation is different. This is every Friday from 12 till 1. So it's lunchtime on a Friday, and it runs every Friday, June, July, August, and then the first 3 Fridays of September. So it's a fairly long-running series of 1-hour performances, and it's primarily a focus on local musicians, and it attracts a lot of people for that reason, because it's outdoors and it's free, and it's just something positive that people can partake of. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Nice again to get that afternoon set, not waiting till super late, for instance, for some of the bars maybe to go out. So
yeah,
very accessible. Right. Yeah. So what about genre of music? Is it focused on one genre, or is it quite diverse?
So good question. It's really diverse. There's a lot of artists in different idioms, whether it be classical, jazz, rock, pop, singer-songwriter. Yeah, a little bit of even country, country swing. We got it all here, so yeah.
Yeah, so just as the weather gets nicer, great to head outside and support live music. And again, great to seeing more of these types of events. I can't quite say post-pandemic, but as restrictions are loosened up, it's nice to see more gigs happening. So I would imagine a lot of the musicians are quite happy to get out there and be playing.
Happy about that. Yeah, I think more and more people are coming out to shows. Just speaking generally about the music scene, there's more music happening, more people are going out. There has been some apprehension coming out of COVID, the pandemic, and different people are processing that differently, and that's one of the other nice things about this. If you want, this is outdoors, it's not indoors. You can maintain your distance if you need be and still, partake of this great music that's happening. So I think it's a win-win on a lot of levels. And yeah, I've been doing it since, I'm called the artistic coordinator since 2018, when the Old City Quarter reached out to the Jazz Society, Nanaimo Jazz Festival Association, and asked if we would like to be involved in helping organize this. So when that happened, first year that I did in 2018, they broke it up into, some of the groups were more multicultural in flavor, some jazz, and just a more mixture, and that was really the mandate, and the mandate hasn't changed. It really remains that way. So even though it's a collaboration between the Old City Quarter and the Nanaimo Jazz Festival Association, it is not jazz. It's just that's only one of the number of genres that are happening here. So yeah.
Well, it's kind of a neat, really correlation with the Old City Quarter itself, right? A lot of different boutiques and stores of different styles, lots of restaurants of different styles of culture. So nice to bring the music.
That's a really good analogy, Matt. Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. I think that's what people are, anyone who's genuinely curious about music, live music in particular, and would like to get to know, what is the music that is coming out of Nanaimo? Who are the musicians that are playing in Nanaimo? It's a great introduction to that, So, and also that's not just solo artists. It's actually broadened where there's groups. We have 6-7 piece groups. We have 1 or 2 people groups. So in terms of the size of the group, it varies as well. So it's kind of a nice cross representation of the music that's happening in Nanaimo.
Beautiful. All right. Well, you know, we sort of teased the folks long enough. Let's actually take a look here at some of the artists.
Sure.
And just give me some highlights here. So starting with June. And actually, before we get into the artists, should mention that each month, slightly different stage location within the Old City Quarter
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
good to know. Yeah, so it moves around. So really, the ideal situation is that you go to the oldcityquarter.com's website, or you go to NanaimoJazzFest.ca website, and there will be an announcement and a list of that. There will be in the form of a poster also in the Nanaimo magazine that will be coming out probably in May, but definitely by June. So, you know, there's a number of ways of finding out who the artists are, and there will be more information about those artists in those on those websites. So that's kind of a preamble to what I'm going to say right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's get into it again. Some really interesting, very cool musicians here. So June at the Fitzwilliam Gate, 5 different performances. I recognize the John Capon Trio, wonderful bass trombonist. Who else can we expect to hear from in June?
Well, okay, yeah, Mr. Missy. I love that name, Mr. Missy. What's going on there, right? But Mark Robichaud is a fairly well-known Nanaimo musician and was one of the original members of Wonder Bread, actually. And he's moved away and come and gone. But he's a really gifted songwriter and singer-songwriter, and so he'll be playing his own original music with Lee Warden, I believe, is on bass, and Tom Neville is a fiddle player. And so yeah, they're playing at Fitzwilliam Gate. That's one of the shows in June. And Fitzwilliam Gate is right where Boca Coffee Shop is, for anyone that's wondering. Occidental Hotel across the street, and just like it's a kind of a big high skylight, kind of like a covered area. So if we do get rain in June, it's like totally covered, which is nice.
And some of the best Nanaimo bars are in Bocas too.
Yeah,
really,
that's
so
right.
Music,
that's right.
The legendary local dessert.
Right.
Really, I'm pretty happy with that.
Good point. So that's yeah. String Fever is Al Metcalf and Michael Anderson, who are a couple of guitar players who teach at Arbutus, and they've put a group together called String Fever, and I'm looking forward to hearing that. I don't really know how to describe what the music is because I've heard them play before, but I don't know how to describe that. So Tegan Couch, she's a young singer who went through the music program here in VIU. She's from Ottawa, actually. She's a really amazing singer. She's in the style of Ella Fitzgerald. So she's a singer who's doing more of a jazz thing. Agasha is a name that's new to me. Someone I think is new to Nanaimo. I believe she's got African heritage, and apparently she's a really gifted singer and songwriter. So that's the first June 2nd. And as you mentioned, John Capon, well-known trombone player who lives on Gabriola playing with Brad Shipley and Brian McMahon. And they have done the show before, but it was like about 3 or 4 years ago. And what happened is we got a lot of rain that day, and there was only about 10 people there. And I thought people were cheated out of not being able to see this group because they all sing and they do a really nice thing. So yeah, that's the John Capon Trio. So.
All right, so we have just a few minutes here before we have to wrap up. I'm glad we were able to give a shout out to all of the June artists again to get people ready for this. So, James, you want to quickly I know you can't really play.
I'll do this really quickly.
Okay, yeah, I can't really
Wesley
play favorites,
Square,
but yeah.
July, The Replacements. It's like a country swing group, 5-string country. There's a fellow named Jim Semka who moved down from Whitehorse area. He's fairly new to Nanaimo, and I'm excited to hear that group. Mahogany is a 4-piece funk band, former and present students of the VIU music program. Apparently it's kind of funky and catchy. That's what that is. Chrissy, Kelly, and Brad is Kelly Fawcett, who's a fairly well-known guitar player, singer, who's spending a lot of time working out of Victoria, but he lives here in Nanaimo. Chrissy Gradanti is his wife. She's a great singer, and they are doing a John Prime kind of a thing. So I don't want to put them in that box totally, but that's what I've been told. Ora Kogan, again, a singer-songwriter who does more of what I would call an ethereal kind of Kate Bush type of style of music, and I really enjoy what she does, and I think it's fairly engaging. It'll pull you in. That's Ora Kogan. August. The shows in August are behind the Black Rabbit and White Rabbit restaurants in the old train station.
On the patio back there.
On the patio back there, yeah. And it's kind of a new location for this. The shows are, the first one is Twin Fiddles. They're two well-known Canadian fiddle players from back east, actually, who are here to work with Fidelium, which is the string orchestra that Trish and Jeff Horlocks organized. So they organize a workshop with these professional performers, and I think it'll be a really great show for anyone who's interested in fiddle music.
That's a very cool group. We've had them here in the studio before doing some performances. Again, as you mentioned, Jeff and Trish, also young fiddle players.
Yes.
Yeah, Fidelium, just definitely watch out for those folks here.
Yeah, it's a really neat group. And Harbor String, Lady O and the Omen. Lady O is Orweith Horowitz. She's a singer, bass player who lives in Duncan. And she works sometimes in Nanaimo. I think she's really good. She's an original singer-songwriter doing music in a rhythm and blues / multicultural, maybe some jazz elements. That's kind of how I describe what she's doing. So where am I? Harbor City String Quartet is some of the really talented classical musicians from Nanaimo. Nick Ross and his wife Alexandra Kennedy. Alexandra plays cello, Nick plays violin. They're joined by Carl Rainier and James Mark, who are another couple of violinists. I believe there's a viola in there, I'm not sure. Last year they performed and they played some of the music of the Beatles in a classical context. It was really beautiful what they did. And so they're here again this year. Rick Scott and Nico Rhodes, Roots and Grooves. Rick Scott is a well-known Canadian folk songs, children and folk music singer-songwriter, very charismatic, entertaining guy. Used to work in a group called Pied Pumpkin and then Pied Pear, and he's been doing this project with Nico Rhodes, who's also extremely talented keyboard player and man of many talents.
Yeah, you mentioned charisma. That's a very charismatic group.
Yeah.
And tons of fun, right? That'll be, again, going at the end of August.
Yeah, it won't be just children entertaining. It will be just really engaging music. So that's all of August. September 1st and 8th, these are all Fridays from 12 till 1, free in the Old City Quarter. The Old City Quarter is basically Fitzwilliam area between Wesley and Selby Streets and Franklin. It's the whole area down there, and that is putting this on. The City of Nanaimo has helped fund this, so thank you, City of Nanaimo, for this. September 1st is the Tidesman Barbershop Chorus. The Tidesmen are a well-known vocal group here in Nanaimo, and that will be the first for me because it's a large group, and so we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm thinking they won't need any microphones at all. I think
no,
they'll
there'll
just
be so many
large,
of them.
they'll
There's so many.
fill up the sound.
Yeah, they will. It'll be really interesting.
Yeah. And they might cut your hair afterwards too, I think, if we're all lucky.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a barbershop quartet. I mean, come on.
Scissors optional, just don't run with them. All right.
September 8th is Yona and the Yule Lads. Now that sounds like there was some group that would play around Christmas time.
It does sound like that.
So this, I don't know if they're going to come with Christmas hats or what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if eggnog in September is a very necessarily
sounds
wise
very
idea.
Odd. So it's very odd, very odd. Yeah, that's some people that a lot of people are going to be familiar with when they see who it is. Yona Christensen, Pierre Coleman, Phil Whipper, James Starling, and a number of well-known musical performers, professional players here in the Nanaimo scene. I'm going to say it's probably going to be some kind of a R&B, rock, funk kind of a thing is what that will be. And the last show, which is a kickoff to the Jazz Festival, is the Shinolas, which is a relatively new group which includes 4 of the 5 players who just played recently in the Cult of Brother 12, which is a musical up at BIU. Bruce Garish is his name, and he does a kind of a mixture of styles. He's got some influences, New Orleans influences, because he lived in New Orleans for a number of years, and it's singer-songwriter, but more with a number of influences. So that's kind of overview on all of the artists. Like you were asking, on the website, if you go check out the website, oldcityquarter.com or nanaimojazzfest.ca, you'll get more information on these artists. And the date is every Friday, June till mid-September, in the Old City Quarter. Sounds of Summer in the Old City Quarter.
I love it. I love the name. I love the festival. I love the you and the crew have put so much work into bringing this together. Again, the 5th year presenting this. James, thank you so much. We've got to wrap it up here. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us here in the studios, and all the best for successful Sounds of Summer.
Thank you. Yeah, please come out. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks so much, James, and thank you so much for tuning in as well. Thank you for your support of Community TV and of live music in your community as well.